What a tremendous theme song, Chris. Have we done that yet, or do we just always talk about X-Men, Batman, and Power Rangers? I think we've never formally done it. We just devolve our conversation into those, which that's two very different buckets. The Power Rangers, X-Men from What's His Name versus the Batman, which is very, very cinematic and ambient. That's very different buckets.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll do that someday. We'll do top intros.
Yeah, we will. I think off the top of my head, I do like even though it's the same composer for the Power Rangers theme song in X-Men, but I prefer Power Rangers over X-Men.
I do too. And Chris, just someday treat yourself. Just Google metal Power Rangers theme song, and it doesn't. I don't even care which one you pick. It's not like I have a specific favorite one. It's just that it's already pretty metal. So if you find a metal cover of that, they usually take it over the top. Hi, my name is Shawn Shaler. That's my friend Chris Ford, a.k.a. The Objective Geek of YouTube and Twitter fame. And today we're talking about theme songs, but also we're going to talk about other stuff, which I'm going to put the right scene on, because that still says year in review. God, I'm really off my game today. Today we're going to talk about the Yuyu Hakusho live-action Netflix series. And I have not watched it, so this will primarily be Chris taking us through his thoughts, and more importantly, what it means potentially for Avatar: The Last Airbender live-action Netflix series. And yeah, Chris, it's pretty much going to be you guiding the conversation and giving us your thoughts.
Yeah, a little bit.
Before that, though, of course, how are you? How you been? What have you been up to?
This has been a pretty great week. Pretty decent week. Had a new person start, and so that was good. I feel like I'm officially a boss now. I have a person working under me. Seems weird for some reason, even though I've always wanted to be a manager for the longest time. But anyway, so that's good, and I've been um, very excited about customizing statues. I finished last night, and really like how it came out. Probably my favorite thing I've ever done. So that's good.
What was it? Like, are you prepared to show it?
Yeah, is this Green Lantern John Stewart statue here.
Oh yeah, you've been talking about that one. Did you get that at Comic-Con last year?
No, I just made this.
But the original statue.
Oh no, you talking about this statue here?
Yeah.
No. So this statue was this Black Adam statue.
Oh, the one you bought like 3 of on accident. That's right.
Yeah, which I did buy. So there's that Black Adam statue there, which is the original one. There's John Stewart Green Lantern statue here, which is based off of that. Then also this Icon statue here, which is also based off of that. But I just keep using the same statue because Black Adam sucked, and well, I wouldn't say it sucked, but Black Adam did not perform well. A lot of people didn't like it, and so the statue was on sale for like $11, a regular $40.
And it's just a generically good looking statue. Chris, I know you haven't talked about Icon 1 as much, but I like your cape work they did with that one.
Oh yeah, that was a lot of fun.
That was intricate cape work. Yeah.
I was at Walmart, and it took the longest time for them. Walmart has a really good selection of materials, fabric materials and stuff. Mm-hmm. Like I was about to buy just a regular cotton, not cotton. I don't know what it is, like sheet material.
Okay.
Maybe it's cotton.
Then I saw this because I don't know.
Yeah. And I saw this nice silky one, and I thought, I'm gonna try to get this nice silky one. And then I always put wires in it so you can pose it any way that I want to pose it.
No, that looks great. I mean, on camera I can't see so much like the paint details, but like the crepe, the cape pops.
Good. That's what I was going for.
Nice. And John Stewart Green Lantern looks great as well. Nicely done.
I was almost annoyed with that one because I probably spent the most money on this, which is ironic because the base figure itself was $11. Because I was like, all right, at first, John Stewart, his his background was like he was in the military. He was a sniper. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna give him a sniper gun to show that. But he makes the sniper from his Green Lantern constructs. Like this isn't. And then I custom made this lantern, this power battery with flames coming out of it. And so at first I was like, all right, we'll just be the sniper, and it'll be the power battery. And then because I ordered this from China. It was $6 for this, and it came with one of these. Then I thought, oh, I'll buy another gun. It comes with another of these. Maybe I'll do more of it. And it had some extra weapons and stuff, and I just kind of stacked and stacked it. Then I was like, oh, I want some missiles to go with it because it's in the army and stuff. So all the stuff is very army esque. And I found some GI Joe missiles that I thought were going to be bigger. These are way smaller than I thought they were going to be, and they were like $20 off of eBay. Don't know why I did that, um,
Because
but
creativity. You were inspired.
yeah. And then the head sculpt is a 3D print I bought off of eBay. I just asked the guy. It only came in like 1/10 at first. I asked if he could do a 1/8. He was like, "Oh, well, what would that be by centimeters or millimeters? I forget which one's which." And then so I had to measure it, and then I was off on my measurements. He sent me one, and it was way too small. He looked weird, um, which is always an interesting thing about head shapes. Like if you want someone to look without like a measuring scale, if you're like drawing something, if you want them to look taller, give them a smaller head because typically people's heads make up about 1/7.5 of their entire length. And so if you have someone with a smaller head, that just looks like they're taller. Um,
Your
but I
proportion
didn't
is
want him to
off.
look. Yeah, I didn't want him to look tall. So then I just wasted money on that. That was like $15. So then I contacted him again to make it slightly bigger. And at first it was too big. I was like, well, now he's too big. Now he looks like he's 5'6". Because you have a typically smaller people have their head takes up more of their body. Um, so, but I etched it down a little bit, drilled it down, so now it looks good. He looks like he's 6'1", and that's what I was going for. Anyway, that's that.
He looks sharp. Makes sense why you would have picked the Black Adam statue. Not just for the cost, but kind of makes sense. Um, Chris, I can't decide if I had a nice week too. Other than I don't really like the week after the holidays because it's always cold and I always weigh too much because I eat and drink too much on the holidays, and then I'm traveling a lot, so I don't sleep that well. So I don't love the week after the holidays. But I can't decide if we spared people or if people missed out. That we spent like 20 minutes before this talking about Gilbert Arenas
I
and
think we spared
the
people for
the
the most part.
the
We just
the
talked
racial
about.
NFL draft,
Yeah.
random
I
All
think we
Star
spared
teams.
people.
I think we spared. That's fair. But I did have a nice week, and I have been craving a couple of like nostalgic sports sims, and so I just treated myself at the end of a long week to a the EA 08. I forget what it's called, collection on PC. Actual hard discs where you got the code on the back. It's not a one-use code. It's like the registration code. You got to reuse it every time because that's how software was back then. And I'm pretty excited about that. And yeah, so I don't know why I've been craving sports sims and kind of retro. Been in a retro game mood this week in particular. But Chris, unless there's anything else you care to chat about or talk about or introduce, tell me more about Yu Yu Hakusho live action on Netflix and what it means for me.
What it means for you. All right, so Netflix just I want to say this middle of December released their live action adaptation of Yu Yu Hakusho. If you don't know what Yu Yu Hakusho is, it's my favorite anime of all time. And that's all you need to know. No, it involves a kid named Yusuke Urameshi. It's funny, they never in the show say Yu Yu Hakusho because Yu Yu Hakusho is just Japanese for like ghost files because he's a spirit detective. That's his title, and he has ghosts. Even though they don't call him ghosts in the show, but ghost is the closest translation to like apparitions or spirits. Um, anyway, or yokai.
Oh, yeah, makes sense.
Um, so anyway, so character name Yusuke Urameshi, terrible kid, street punk kind of deal. Like he gets into fights all the time. He's a delinquent. He ends up saving a kid from getting run over by a car. In the spirit world, or the people who run the afterlife, was like, we didn't expect you to do that. You're a terrible human being. We didn't expect you to risk your life to save this kid. We don't have a place for you. So then he ends up dying, and but they bring him back to life, and he has to kind of repay them back to being a spirit detective by by solving cases and defeating evil and demons and things like that. Any type of harm that might come to the Earth, the human realm. But I love the anime. Yusuke is like one of my favorite characters. He's so unique. I don't think there's another character like that in anime. And so I was really excited. I wasn't really excited. I wasn't really excited. I'll take that back. I was excited to watch the show, but I wasn't excited to see how the show would be. I was worried about it for several reasons, and some of those reasons were right for me to be worried about them. But the show in general, so the show in general, I liked. There's a lot of stuff that I would have changed, and the reason why I'm talking about today is because Avatar: Last Airbender has an adaptation coming up. Which Avatar is if I had to rank Avatar: Last Airbender and Legend of Korra is my favorite show of all time. I'll just go ahead and put them two together. Then, what would be number two? Oh, I need to make a list. But Yu Yu Hakusho is my favorite anime of all time.
I'm gonna
It's at least in top
guess.
three.
I'm gonna guess your number two would be Scrubs.
I don't know. I'm kind of in a weird area right now because I've been thinking about where do I rank Batman the Animated Series because I don't revisit Batman the Animated Series as much as you think I would. Because I get so much Batman content all the time. I'm like, oh, I need to go watch. And also, it's not a show. It's a show that I can go just pick my favorite episodes and watch those. Like that's what I typically do. I'm like, I watch it pretty often, but I don't sit down and binge the whole thing. It's not
Yeah,
a bingeable show. I just go through like
it's
probably
it's
probably
not
watch.
it's not terribly serial, and it's not maybe
No,
the most rewatchable. And I don't mean that to reflect on its quality in any
yeah,
way. It just doesn't necessarily have rewatchable or bingeable characteristics.
yeah, it does.
That's
Um,
fine.
so I was thinking about this recently. I'm like, man, I haven't rewatched like all of Batman the Animated Series in a really long time. Like I bought all the DVDs years ago, and I rewatched them then. But like typically, my favorite shows are kind of on a loop.
Mhm.
Like I go Community, Scrubs, Brooklyn Nine Nine, The Good Place, even some all comedies now apparently. Uh, Yu Yu Hakusho is in the loop. What else is in the loop? Um, even Attack on Titan is in the loop, and there's a couple other shows that I'm just like, oh, I want to start watching something and just binge it in the background
Well, you
and
say
really enjoy watching it.
you say on a loop, but man, by the time you finish that loop, like it's the next year. At that point, it's already
It
been a
is, yeah.
year since you. That's a great loop, though. We were just talking about rewatching The Good Place. We're almost done with Modern Family, which I enjoy, but I won't want to rewatch. I don't think, not in the near future.
Yeah,
I'm almost done with Brooklyn Nine Nine. I binged the crap out of that last weekend, like the whole weekend. So I'm on the last season
yeah.
of Brooklyn Nine Nine already, which is great. I don't know if it cracks my top five, but it's rewatch material for sure. Yeah, you
It
have a
is.
lot.
It is really good rewatch material.
It is. I think I pick up on different details. This is my third total watch through, and I think I pick up on new details every time.
Hmm.
And then
Yeah, yeah.
Community, Avatar,
Oh, Avatar. That's what I was missing. Avatar
Avatar.
is in that loop in Legend of Korra.
Well, and there's some things. Futurama is really high in my loop, but that's probably my one where I would say sometimes it's a loop, sometimes like I just want to go see this episode, and I'll just pull up that
Yeah.
episode. But
Hmm.
Yeah, tell us your TV rotations. Interested to hear.
Yeah.
Ours are very comedy heavy. We should branch out. No, we shouldn't. I'm not going to do that.
I don't like even.
That's
I keep
ridiculous.
so the Watchmen HBO series.
Yeah.
I love watching it. I was like, oh, this is the best superhero TV show ever, and I still feel that way. And I keep thinking like, oh, I'm gonna go rewatch it, and I've not yet gotten around to rewatching it because like dramas aren't that rewatchable.
Drama tends to be built up by suspense to some degree, or
Yeah,
by the not necessarily by like twists or things, but just things that don't lend themselves to being as good the second time,
yeah.
in my opinion. But I get that. That's a great series. You got it on Vudu too, if I'm not mistaken. Not that I would know that.
Yeah, it's been there for a long time.
Yeah, no,
And I
that's
just-
why. That's
and
where I have. I've probably watched it there more recently than you have, probably because I watched it there after you did the first time. But
yeah,
I used to think Harley Quinn was going to be in my rotation, but every season just gets a little weirder. Not necessarily
I still
bad,
haven't
just
finished.
weirder.
I still haven't finished watching the most recent one.
I don't think I'm finished with it either.
Yeah, it needs to come to a close. I think.
The first season was great. It was glorious. After that, like, just a normal kind of downhill-ish trajectory. But
Yeah.
but we've only got one season of Yu Yu Hakusho to work with.
Yes. Okay. So one of the things that I was worried about Yu Yu Hakusho, and let me preface by saying that the production styles of these two shows, the Netflix live action of Avatar and Yu Yu Hakusho, are different. Yu Yu Hakusho went the route of like, if Japan made a Yu Yu Hakusho TV show, like it's all like Japanese productions with Japanese actors speaking Japanese, and so you got to watch in dub or in subtitles. It feels and looks like a Japanese production, which can be great sometimes. See Godzilla -1, probably the best film I've seen this year. I think we talked about that last week also.
I think we did, yeah.
Um,
I don't know if you said it was the best, so that's big praise.
Lee, it's not a high bar this year, but
Not great.
probably but still a great film. Um, and while Avatar went the route of this is a U.S. production, but with a very um, wide, diverse cast, and so typically with the U.S. production, typically comes I wouldn't say higher quality in some aspects.
I mean, for
Sure,
us,
higher
it's just a
quality in
more
some aspects.
familiar
Maybe that's
quality,
what it is.
which
But
not good or
also,
bad, but good for my brain's
yeah,
serotonin
and they
levels. You know
put
what I mean?
yeah, and they put more money into it. Like
Okay, fair enough.
they do, they typically do put more money into the films and TV shows here. Which I think that was shown. Like I wasn't there was no scene in Yu Yu Hakusho where I was like, oh, the cinematography is blowing me away here because that's typically that comes with a huge budget. Um, but and so they have a bigger budget. They have a bigger budget for CGI and stuff like Avatar would, which brings me to one point that I think will have heavy implications for the Avatar Netflix show. Yu Yu Hakusho is about people shooting beams and stuff. It can be a heavy CGI show, and I thought the CGI, even with probably what their limited budget would be compared to Avatar, was done pretty well. Like, sure, I can see scenes. I'm like that CGI, but sometimes like people get too worked up about CGI. Like, I know that thing is not real. I'm not. You don't have like
That's
I'm
a
not going to
great.
fault it for not being real. Like it looks like the thing that I want it to look like. That's enough for me. It doesn't have to be James Cameron Avatar type of uh, realness.
I always argue with people all the time that is like it's like a bell curve of there's really really bad on the bottom of one end and there's really really good on the bottom of the other end. But like I'm okay with most stuff in between. I can
Yeah,
suspend my disbelief when I'm watching the first couple of Harry Potter movies or whatever. Like it's fine. It's not
Yeah,
gonna win modern awards,
yeah, exactly.
but
But even for this, so I thought the CGI
what's
was
this?
done pretty
Scorpion
well
King, the one with the rock in
because
it that had the really bad
okay,
CGI.
that's
Like, okay,
bad.
there's some real bad CGI. That's fair. That's on the other end of the bell curve.
Yeah. The thing is, people complained about. Never mind. I get why some people complained about the Flash. Have you seen the Flash yet? No, you don't plan on seeing it. It's
Mm-mm.
fine. Um, but people complained about it. There's a scene that I thought was beautiful. So Barry, the Flash can run so fast he can break the time barrier. He can go back in time. In the comic books, he runs on this thing called a cosmic treadmill, and I don't know why, but running in place really fast can make him go anywhere in the timeline. In this, he runs really fast to a point where he reaches this kind of this alternate, not alternate dimension. It's probably the Speed Force, but they called it the Chrono Bowl, where he sees like everything happening around him is it's like all the scenes of his life almost. And I thought it was a great shot. The CGI in it, like they'll show like hundreds of like there's a scene in Zack Snyder's Justice League where Superman punches the Flash. It's like when Superman wakes up, and they'll show that scene, but they'll show it 100 times. And so, like, they were going for a more artistic approach of this. So like, it didn't look like exactly like Henry Cavill. It looked like a CGI version of him, but just the Chrono Bowl was supposed to look like that. But a lot of people are like, oh, this is terrible CGI. I'm like, it's not bad CGI. I mean, I could tell that this was a creative choice that he took for it. But also, I don't care if people complain
Yeah,
about it. Like because something is a creative choice, you either like it or you don't. But I wouldn't say it's bad CGI. You just didn't like how this person implemented
their
that.
vision. Yeah, I think the CGI
Yeah.
argument was probably more pronounced like in the early 2000s when
Yes.
practical effects were, at the time, for the time, like they were better than they had ever been, and CGI was worse than it had ever been. Like, okay, I can see being like, hey,
Mm,
we're not ready for this yet.
yeah.
But
And that is the thing about Godzilla minus one. Practical. Those are practical effects for the most part, and it works so well. Like I think it works way better than the Godzilla in the most recent like Godzilla vs Kong movies.
yeah, the
Like
Godzilla vs
give
Kong
me that
movies
practical.
aren't my favorite in terms of their visual. They try to present
Yeah.
really large, uh, massive, highly detailed scapes, and it
Yeah.
just
Like
falls on the
even
flat
with Godzilla
side.
minus one, I'm like, yeah, I know there's a guy in the suit. I know there is, but my disbelief is I am fully bought in that this is a 200-foot monster with big, huge eyeballs sometimes,
We're
and
also
but
we're also a podcast about an animated series, which is pretty animated and not real at all. So we're good at
yeah,
suspending our disbelief. Uh,
yeah, people are too. It's almost I love Chris Nolan. It's almost Nolan's fault because I think people have fallen into like, oh, well, one thing you gotta explain everything, or one thing everything has to look. I don't know. Anyway, it's
yeah, I,
people are too picky nowadays.
I think most people that don't like it were trying like they were looking for something to be wrong in some cases, but
Yeah.
yeah, whatever.
So anyway, point number one, the CGI. I think on Avatar, I don't think we have anything to worry about it with. I think we're pretty good there, especially because they got money to back it. The other thing that I was worried about is that the one of the big things I was worried about was that they were going to take the meat of the story and not focus on the sides, and they did that. Like they, I get where the show cut things and made shortcuts, and a lot of them I agree with. I'm like, oh, cool, yeah, you kind of skipped this side, and you went straight to this. You skipped this kind of thing, completely fine with that. But I think they missed out on a lot of the character dynamics and those interactions between those characters. And I think that definitely hurt because one of the things that we love about all these shows is how these characters interact with each other. Like there's In Yu Yu Hakusho, there's a character named Hiei, and he is like the BA of the team. He was a villain at first, and he's a demon, but he turns to their team. And there's another character named Kuwabara who's like a dumb human, and these two don't get along at all. They're like fire and water. And they're always talking crap to each other and stuff. And the show just the live action adaptation just didn't care about that too much. So they had like one conversation of them arguing, and that was it. And so it is so, and that takes away the identity, the DNA of the show, really. And that is one thing that I right now don't think this will be an issue with it, but it's one thing to keep the eye on because if you don't have these character interactions done well, that could be detriment to the story in a whole.
Did you already say, or maybe you're saving this for the end? Did you already say whether or not overall the show, not your review, but like how's it performing? How's Yu Yu Hakusho received?
Oh, that's a good question. Because it might be it. The first week it was like number 4 on Netflix. I saw it beat number 4 on Netflix for at least a couple of days in the first week. I'm not sure it held it too long, but I think that's still a really good indicator of how well Avatar: Last Airbender could perform. Because Yu Yu Hakusho is not a household commodity. Within the anime community, it is a like, all right, people love this show. But Avatar: Last Airbender is like, I think it has a way huger
It
impact
has a
than Yu Yu
Nickelodeon
Hakusho.
audience in a Dragon Ball
Yes.
way that most anime that you might.
Yeah. I don't think the Yu Yu Hakusho panel at Planet Comic Con could pull in our numbers, which I'm still waiting on confirmation from that. And it's bugging me that we haven't gotten it yet. Although
How are we
panel
not top of
submissions
the list?
panel submissions did close December 25th. And so maybe I shouldn't even be expecting anything right now. But I did email them back
What
to
a
like,
weird
hey,
day to close.
emailing emailing to make just to confirm that you received my thing and stuff.
We already brought the prizes. Come on.
I know. I don't want to. Thing is, I am. I might be worried about it for nothing. I
I mean,
probably am worried about
probably.
it for nothing. Because we put on a great panel. It's filled with people. Every single panel has been every seat has had a butt in it.
Hmm? We put
And
butts
they had to
in
bring in chairs.
seats. I just got done with the Trudy
um,
Judy episode where it's the bachelor party and she just wants to see
I want to
13 or
see
14
butts.
butts. I want to see 13 butts. It's a great episode.
But we'll probably get selected again to do the panel. If I had to guess.
You know what,
Like, and
Chris?
also this year has 3 Avatar voice actors coming, and so it's going to be a huge Avatar year.
If we don't for whatever reason, first of all, we'll be outraged. We will stage a small rant online. But second of all, I would say like we would do some kind of event, some kind of live trivia, and we would pass out our flyers shamelessly at Comic Con. Be like, listen, we got shunned. Here's a flyer for our digital trivia event. We
Digital trivia.
well, we'd fundraiser, right? They'd pay $5 to come to our trivia. It goes to insert charity here. Buy some prizes. You pay for the
Oh,
shipping,
okay.
please.
Because the $5 pays for it. I don't think anyone's gonna pay $5 at the chance to win like the biggest prize in our thing, which I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
might be a
We'd have to
guitarist.
work that idea. I'm just saying, if we get shunned, we're gonna turn it into like an underdog story. We're gonna use that to build publicity
Okay.
for whatever we
We
did.
should have an after party. Every
Yeah.
now and then, I think like, man, maybe I should step into the dances because they have like that party afterwards. I'm not even a partying person. But I'm just curious how the vibe is there.
I I went to the PAX after party in Houston, and it was cool because it's basically a concert. But that being said, it didn't feel like a party. It felt like a concert, but it's still really cool.
No, no.
So I don't know. I
Oh,
could see it.
I'd rather go to a concert than a party.
Yeah, I think so too. Pending that it's not country music. No offense, country music people. No
Agreed.
offense. No offense intended. Okay, so long story short, though, it sounds like in its niche, Yu Yu Hakusho is being relatively well received.
Yeah, and even amongst Yu Yu Hakusho fans, I think my opinion of it is almost a drunk assistance. Like, yeah, it's pretty good. Missed the mark on some things, um, but it was fine for what it was. Like, I would watch it again. I wasn't like, oh, this is bad. I've never once thought this is bad. I just thought, oh, it could be better here and better there. Also, something to point out is that this Yu Yu Hakusho was 5 episodes, and each episode was like 50 minutes long, and it probably covered. I want to say there's about 112 episodes in Yu Yu Hakusho. It covered all the Dark Tournament up to that point, so it really covered like almost 3 seasons of material, maybe 60 episodes. While you look at Avatar,
Dang.
season 1 is going to be, I think, 8 1-hour episodes, maybe 10. I feel like I saw 8. 8 or 10 1-hour episodes, and it's just going to cover season 1. And season 1 is about the same time span of those 8 hours or 10 hours. And so
Well,
I think they're.
I think, and I don't know Yu Yu Hakusho, so I'm judging probably out of place here, but like Avatar tells a tighter story in that. Is it fair to
Yeah,
just
it
say
does.
that like Yu Yu Hakusho has like an anime style that lends itself a little bit to dragging things out across a couple episodes?
Yeah, and that's the thing about Avatar: Last Airbender, which one day we'll get into what if it actually was anime. If it
That's
was
been on
actually
our topic
anime,
list for a while. We should tackle that
yeah,
maybe before the live action
yeah,
comes out, before we've got too much other stuff to.
yeah, yeah. I just sent out a message to the person who I went on the episode. He hit me back yet, but then again, I sent that like 5 hours ago. So,
Fair enough.
but he'll be a good person. He's a big fan of anime, and he has his own podcast and things like that. So he'll be a really good point. But one of those things to plug this future episode is that if Avatar was actually anime, it would be probably 100, probably 120 episodes long, somewhere around there.
Never once
Like,
in current Avatar does a fight scene last more than an episode. Not
yeah,
one time.
that's, they typically last even the bit. Well, although there was a couple fight scenes going on at the same time.
Yeah, but
So the
if you scratch
finale,
out some rare exceptions, the standard fight scene is like 3 minutes.
yeah. Um, and even I wonder how long is the Ozai fight. I want to say the Ozai fight might be 9 minutes, but that's the finale. Like that's and the Frieza versus the Goku fight, which Dragon Ball Z is. They don't make animes like Dragon Ball Z anymore, and that sounds like a that sounds like
It's the oldest
a
person thing
compliment.
we've ever said on this podcast.
That sounds like a compliment to Dragon Ball Z in the old person's comment. They don't make animes like they used to, where they drag out one fight for 20 episodes. They really don't do that anymore. Like typically,
Good,
a big
Chris.
fight.
That is my downside with Dragon Ball Z. Like I don't need that. I don't have
Dude, the
time.
thing is, I want to rewatch Dragon Ball Z. I'm just like, it is so freaking slow. Like, the thing is, they tried to fix it by doing Dragon Ball Z abridged, and it just didn't work. Because one thing I didn't like it because they didn't use the right music. It's all about the music. Brings to my next point about Yu Yu Hakusho. They didn't reuse the music, which I knew they wouldn't reuse the music because um, I just knew they wouldn't. It's a Japanese production and things, and they were redoing it. But music is so important, and hopefully, the trailer to Avatar is an indicator if they're gonna use at least based off of the original music, because music just hits the soul and it gets you. When that music kicked in the trailer, that's when I was bought in. And so hopefully they bring back in the music. Sure, add some new stuff.
I think we both
Add some
listed that
new.
as like one of our top 3 favorite things about the trailer,
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
yeah. Real quick, to wrap up because it's probably longer than I thought it would be. The other thing I really loved about Yu Yu Hakusho was that the characters looked great. Like they looked like the characters, just ripped off. Sure, with more details and stuff, and some of their costumes were a little more flashy than I think they should have been. Like Kurama, the demon Fox kind of deal. He wears a school uniform. His school uniform looks almost bedazzled out. Like, all right, you guys put too much detail into this. Like, it should just be maroon slacks, not like this very intricate looking type of deal. Which Avatar might suffer from a little bit because some of specifically calling out Sokka, there was a couple other characters who I thought their costumes looked too detailed, and we talked about this in the past, but it wasn't that the costumes in Yu Yu Hakusho were good, and the one I'm talking about wasn't like that distracting. But I feel like some in specifically Sokka's might be like distractingly too detailed.
Or just a hair, like it didn't feel like what they would have been wearing in most of the context or whatever.
Yeah. And then the last thing I want to bring up is the fighting. So Yu Yu Hakusho is really not about like hand to hand fighting. It's a lot about like blast you with this, I outsmart you with this whip. I did something here. You know, in the '90s, they do the typical type of deal where you don't. It's moving so fast you don't see it. But in this, like you could actually see them. Their fight choreography was there, which would be interesting for Avatar because Avatar is very much about fight choreography. Like they did reference videos for the animators to follow. So I'm really curious how it's going to look. And that's the thing about American productions on the negative side. Like Japanese live action productions, people have amazing fight choreography, and then American productions have okay fight choreography. Sometimes great, um, but so I'm curious how that's going to look, or maybe they'll lean more on the actual bending of it. But yeah, I mean, they haven't talked about. There's no fight choreographer that I think we've heard of.
We, yeah, I don't think that's come up in our conversations about the live action series. So nothing that that we have seen or been exposed to has suggested anything like that.
Yeah, but it would be an interesting element if they had some really detailed fight choreography in live action. You know, it's different when you see actual fists hitting one another than animation. So I'm looking forward to seeing that.
You're just making me want to go back and watch. So one thing that I always say that Digimon did do slightly better than
Digimon,
Pokemon.
you keep pushing this Digimon.
The one thing it did better than Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh, which were kind of my 3 at the time. I know Yu-Gi-Oh's a little later, but like it did tell a much tighter story. So I feel like I've said it before on this show of like the first 13 episodes of Digimon, like that's a whole story arc. That's like a whole book essentially of Avatar: The Last Airbender in like in a story arc sense. So like Digimon told a tight story, and you still got not good fight scenes, but decent fight scenes in that time. I don't need that. Every duel takes an entire episode, or like there'll be a whole episode of Pokemon where Ash is just fighting a rando like on the street, like
Oh
it's
yeah.
like a whole episode, and I don't need that in my life. Go Digimon. Dit. Okay, I'm done.
This Digimon propaganda you have going on.
Listen, those the Switch game is like a weirdly good JRPG, and it's weird as crap, but it's weirdly good.
Digimon, the only world where a lizard eventually evolves into a refrigerator with a machine gun.
So, are you familiar with like even just vaguely familiar with like Persona or Shin Megami Tensei series? Is
I'm vaguely familiar with Persona.
okay. So the Digimon game on Switch that I'm referencing, I know there's a couple. The Digimon game on Switch I'm referencing takes more of a like that Shin Megami Tensei vibe where you're kind of combining monsters and they're digital, so it kind of makes sense. You're kind of combining them into other things or fusing them, so it's a little bit like the Pokemon breeding system, but catching them and combining. It's hard to explain, but it makes more sense than the show did at face value. But regardless, Digimon, first 13 episodes. Some of my favorite childhood nostalgia. That's all I got.
Yeah, nothing else.
Nope, that's it. Chris, what's your thought? What's your final thoughts? So you kind of gave us independent thoughts and current reception. Give me a rough scale out of 10 on Yuyu.
Ooh, rough scale out of 10, man.
Or you can divide it up into 3 categories if you want.
Oh, one of the things that I liked about it also is that they did spend more time connecting Yusuke, his connection with like kids. Like, sure, Yusuke is a delinquent and he hates other people, but there's some type of innocence with kids that he wants to protect, and that wasn't really in the anime. Um, I thought that was done really well, which brings me to like Aang. I wonder will they'll probably dive deeper, I think, into Aang's story there. But so to give Yu Yu Hakusho live action adaptation a rating of out of 10, 7.5.
Fair
Yeah,
enough.
7.5.
That sounds like watchable to me. Although I probably won't personally pursue, but that's more
You
to
won't
not
watch it
have.
because you haven't watched the anime.
I probably won't. Well, listen, the anime.
You could at least watch it to. What you should do is, if you want to get back to it, watch pretty much where the Dark Tournament starts. You really don't even need to watch anything
That's the only
before
place I
that.
made it
Just
to the last time, and that's that. Like I got to that point, and it felt like I was turning a corner, but just like wow, that was a
the Dark
long
Tournament
build
is.
up.
I love the Dark Tournament.
Also,
It's the best tournament in anime.
I always struggle a little bit with shows with sort of I want to say like nebulous powers or kind of nondescript powers.
Okay.
That's always something I struggle with in a lot of anime. Like Yu-Gi-Oh, like alright, it's a card game, kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Pokemon, Digimon, not quite as much. Maybe that's why I'm a little more attached to Yu-Gi-Oh. But I don't know. But like Avatar, that's why Avatar. Part of why I love it is it has very distinctive
It
like
is.
this is what you
And
can do, and this is why.
there's no cheating with it. Like Toph can't power up and be like, and somehow she has more power than she had before. Like Aang can because he has the Avatar state, and if he can channel the Avatar state, he has a resource of kind of boundless power. But there is a step to mastering the Avatar state, and it's not just there is a concreteness about it.
One, the fact that they went out of their way. I think we talked about this before, but it's been a while to like. It's not magic. They wanted to have
Yeah,
not necessarily the restriction on it, but they didn't want it to feel like
there's
it could
rules.
that it could just be expanded and power creeped up or whatever. Like they're trying explicitly to avoid that. And that's one of my favorite things about the show that probably distinguishes it pretty heavily from a lot of anime. But
Yeah, I didn't think about. I mean, I thought about. I have a whole list of things that Avatar would be different if it was actually wasn't anime. But I didn't really think about the vagueness of powers, and and that would definitely be something. Because yeah, like Jujutsu Kaisen, which is a fairly new anime, it's pretty good. But it's hard to follow, and like they'll explain it like so the power system in Jujutsu Kaisen is like there's cursed spirits, and cursed spirits happen from human emotions, and like they're very specific. Like if a bunch of humans hate planes, if they're afraid of planes, that's enough to create a cursed spirit. That's a plane cursed spirit, if you will. And Jujutsu sorcerers can exercise these spirits because they can use cursed energy to do that. That already sounds somewhat confusing. But then with that cursed energy, they can open up these like domains and stuff that can trap people in these domains, which is almost like an alternate dimension. But if you can inflict your domain into their domain, you can cancel out their domain. And then some people have blood techniques and other things. Like it is, I'm like, I don't understand this. It's one of the most confusing power systems I've ever seen. And at the point where I'm just like, all right, I just gotta roll with it. Like I just like get the sense that this person is in danger. I don't even know how strong this person is compared to the others. Why does he open up these ghosts and demons and stuff, and this other person doesn't? Avatar, I've never had that issue in Avatar. Like the only thing I had to think about in Avatar that didn't click right away was like the Avatar cycle and how it works and things like it. That took maybe to episode 6 or something to understand. Whenever they went to Kyoshi, I think it was episode 4. And also talking to Roku, like what exactly does that mean and stuff. But yeah, it was
But it
Avatar
turns
has
out
a
even those things are fairly descript for the most part.
yeah.
Yeah, that's something I really value. Or like I would say that what I did like about My Hero Academia was that it had a little, not constraints on the powers themselves, but it wasn't sort of totally nebulous and
Yeah, like
growable
quirks.
within a singular character outside of the main character, I guess.
Yeah, like there was a weakness. Like every quirk had his weakness, and
And
they explained the quirk
yeah,
because President Mike would be like, "Here's their quirk. It's this and that, but they can't do this." And I was like, "All right, I get it."
yeah. And there was limitations that made it feel like the character wasn't just going to show back up in a more powerful state for the most part, other
Mhm.
than again the main character himself sort of notwithstanding. But yeah,
Yeah,
so that's yeah, interesting, possibly distinction that will come up in Avatar as an anime when we have that discussion. Chris, final thoughts on that, or if we just need to segue, we need to try to get that other, like I said, before the live action happens. Let's try to fit that episode in. I think
yeah, yeah. There's a couple
got
episodes can fit in.
got a
Yeah,
few
so
more
hopefully I can get them
weeks.
in the February 22nd.
I'll probably take off that. Well, if you don't care, Chris, I'll probably take off that Thursday, and I'll just leave my house real early. I'll show up at your house, timing out with when you get your kids out of the house or whatever.
Oh yeah, okay.
I think I can do that.
Sure.
Uh,
Okay,
got to
cool.
finish up before the kids get back home. We got responsibilities. How
See
long
how
is it?
much
Did we already
time
do that
is.
math?
I mean, probably 8 hours.
8 hours. Okay. Yeah, that's
So 8 to 4 would cover. Oh gosh, yeah, maybe 10 hours. Whatever. You'll just say a little later,
yep.
and then I'll
Yeah.
just like when my kids get off the bus, I'll just be like, "Go away." And
I mean, get home.
they'll,
We have to eat food. Also, I like food. We eat food with them. Occupy
that's
them a few
true.
minutes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I can make that work. Okay. Hey, thanks for talking about Yu Yu Hakusho. Everybody, thanks for watching. Please leave all of your positive interactions, whatever ones you can spare, for us. We appreciate them all. Thumbs ups, comments, positive reviews. If you got a negative review, you keep that inside. You bottle that up
Or
right
at least
here.
be constructive.
You,
Be constructive with it.
what's
And have it be a
John Mulaney
real.
say about feelings is you just keep them right here and then you die. No, that sounds too dark. Yeah, whatever interactions you can spare us, we're very grateful for. I'll put the information down in the description. My name's Shawn. That's my friend Chris Ford, aka the Objective Geek of YouTube and Twitter. And we'll talk to you next time. And we both still have audio. Nice.
Don't know why I'm doing the Hunger Games.